Hi, Orange Girl here with another scrapbooking process video for you. I am using the 2018 January Hip Kit Club kits. My assignment this week is to just use the main kit. I'm using this photo of my feet. It's taken at work beside my most favorite rug ever that my mom has ever made, and it is a rainbow rug. And I'm wearing my brand new Chucks. It's the first day that I wore them. And so I decided to kind of go with that rainbow idea. So I pulled a couple of pattern papers that I thought I would use, and I pulled the Vicki Boutin stickers that came in the main kit, and then this cut file. With this cut file, this was designed by Kim Watson, and I decided to just, kind of go big here. And I pulled my stuff aside, you guys, true story here, and I laid this cut file down. It had zero intention of using this as my background until I saw it. It was a complete accident. I had anticipated that I would glue different pattern papers behind each one of those little openings. And when I laid it down on that rainbow paper, I was like, no, just do this. And so I did that, and then I start to cut the back off right here. And as I'm doing this, I do not realize that the other side of this is that absolutely beautiful, that right there, the flower paper. And that flower paper was by far my most favorite paper. And so I didn't realize when I laid that down that I was using it on that. So I like cried just a little bit when I realized, but then I saw how gorgeous it looked on the white here, and I was like, oh, forget it. It's beautiful. I am so glad I got two pieces of that because I will use it. So I couldn't decide if I wanted to use the whole flower as my background. Initially, I thought I would cut the flower into two pieces. And so since I couldn't decide, I moved on to something else. So I got out my embroidery floss, which is a big mess. How embarrassing that I just showed you that. But it is a big mess, but it's okay. I got what I needed, and I got as many of the colors as I could to match as well as I could. And then I went ahead and cut that, not quite in half, but I cut it into two pieces. And at this point, my original idea was to cut it into two pieces and use some of it on each side. But then I saw this piece that I had just cut off, and I thought, oh, maybe I just want that kind of orange to pinkish color, kind of almost a red. And I thought maybe I just wanted that on the side. So I play with that for a little while, but that changes. So what you're seeing me play with here is that's just some packaging from the Vicki Boutin stickers that you can watercolor the stickers. And I kind of toyed with the idea. I think it might come back on. You might make another appearance, but I don't end up using it. Of using that as the background in some area. In fact, I even thought about going ahead and doing some of my own watercolor, kind of peeking out from behind this flower, but then I decided I wanted it to be a little bit more clean than usual, but have these bright flowers and these bright colors. So that's what I ended up going with. So right now I'm just kind of toying with the idea of what do I want, excuse me, for strips along the side, which I end up taking them all away, as it turns out anyway. I did save from one of my last layouts. I used one of my first layouts that I made with this kit. I used almost all of the die cuts by, it's a Hip Kit exclusive by Kim Watson, and it goes with that flower paper as well. And I used almost every single one of them, but I did save a few back because I knew I would want to embellish with those on another layout at some point because I love them. They were some of my favorite parts. So what I'm doing now is I'm using a little tissue paper from my stash, roughing it up a little bit, and then I'm adding this little piece of paper behind my photo, just as a layer. And that is just a scrap that I cut off when I first made, back to that die cut, excuse me. Now I'm going to go back to this. And when I was pointing to that flower paper, I was saying to myself, oh, I really wish I had more of these flowers. And I was also thinking, to remain true to my assignment, I shouldn't use those and fussy cut out of that paper because that's the second paper that came out of the paper pack. But I don't end up using those. I don't end up cutting that one. I end up cutting just scraps that I don't use from the paper here that I use to back it, if that makes sense, because they're on the opposite sides. So I am just using my paper piercer. It's, I think, an Amy Tangerine paper piercer. That easy for me to say. And I'm going to go ahead and just stitch around the outside. I started with the green only. The only reason that I started with the green is because the green is what was already in my, already threaded on the needle. And since it was already threaded on the needle, I was like, why start with a different color? And I knew I just needed a little because there's not a lot of green on this die cut. So no sense in getting a whole another piece out. So then I went back and did the rest, and there it is. And I really like how that turned out. I toyed with the idea of doing each part of the flower, but first of all, it would have taken forever, and second, I don't know that it would have looked that much better than this does. So I kind of like how it has a well-defined edge by doing that stitching, yet it's not too complicated. So anyway, so now I'm taking some of, well, all of the flowers that I have left from the die cut pack. Those are exclusive. Kim Watson designed them to go with, and it goes with that paper and everything. And I'm pulling out my scraps, and I'm trying to decide if what I want up in that corner, I feel like that corner needs something, and also trying to decide where to put my title. I hadn't really thought that far ahead in the design. I knew I wanted to use the cut file, and I knew, or at least originally thought, I would use both sides of the cut file kind of creeping off the edge. So I really do kind of mess around with the title a little bit as far as placement goes, but I end up going with it right here underneath the picture. I like that, so I'm moving on and looking for more rainbow items. And I end up sticking mostly with flowers, which is just fine with me. So at this point, I'm not really liking that thing up in the corner. And so I took it off and I went ahead and I stitched another part of that flower. And now I'm going to play with all the scraps that I have left from that paper and fussy cut a bunch of things out of it. So this is one of the corner pieces off that same paper, and I'm just cutting out some of the flowers to put up there in a little cluster. I end up adding some more. So that strip right there that you see me fussy cutting, the opposite side of that strip has some of that cut file on it because it's the part from the middle of the flower that I don't end up using, if that makes sense. So I knew this was pretty much the placement that I wanted to use, so I went ahead and glued down that flower with a little bit of thread, and now I'm adding some foam adhesive to the back. And the main reason that I'm doing, well, there's two reasons really. One, I kind of liked the way it looked with a little bit of shadow around it because it sticks up just a little bit. And the reason it sticks up is my secondary reason. The reason it sticks up a little bit is because that embroidery thread is just thick enough that it doesn't lay flat very well. Sorry for the view of my head. And so I decided that if I put foam adhesive back there and lifted the whole thing up that I would like a little bit more, and I do. I was right. So I added a little bit of extra foam adhesive behind my photo so it sticks up and it's even, and now I'm just gluing everything down. So I sped it up really quickly so that you don't have to see me place glue. Using my T-square to try to get chucks even, and now I'm using more of that empty strip there that I didn't end up using. You see me tearing off some of that cut file from the back, and I'm adding just a few more little bits of flowers, little blue flowers and some more pink ones. I think I do a red one maybe too, but now I'm committed to this design, so I'm gluing things down as well. several of the flowers, like that little one that I put down by Chuck's, and then a couple of the other ones that are more single flowers, I go ahead and pop up off the page with some foam. Now I'm trying to decide, I wanted a little bit of black and white on here, and so I went in and instead of watercoloring or using any paint on these stickers, I went ahead and grabbed um, some black and white leaves, I think, from it, and some words. I think I end up using "my favorite" as a little phrase that was on there, and then now I'm back to that scrap again, and I'm cutting out some of the black. You saw me pull out the almost full sheet that I have left of the flowers, and I was just looking to see how are those flowers coming, or how are the black leaves coming off. They look so good on that paper, and I wanted to kind of imitate that, even though I didn't have flowers on that little strip that would work that way. I just had some of the black that I could use and cut out, and some of the flowers that I could, but not together. Just didn't, none of them were together and complete. And so I just cut them out separately and pieced them together so they looked as natural as the original paper. And now I'm adding a label sticker, I think, and I am just about finished here. Gluing everything down and adding some foam adhesive behind things, and that's it. So here come the close-ups. I hope you enjoyed this. I do add a few splatters of Shimmer's paint from one of our, that was from a kit, I don't know, within the last 5 months or so. There's the final product. I hope you enjoyed watching, and I can't wait to see what you make using all of these wonderful Hip Kit Club exclusives that we have in the kits this month. There you go. Thanks a lot. See you next time.